for the summer?
Yeah. Thank you.
July 4th weekend, we're having a little family get together. I have a daughter living in Holmesville, I have a daughter living in Champaign, Illinois. And we're getting together at the Y, from the zoo, the big open with a drive-through or cooking. So you can rent cabins there.
again. I'm Sandy Fulton. Good morning and welcome to UU Mount Airy. Yes, I said I was Sandy Fulton, and I really am. And I use she, her, hers pronouns. And it is my pleasure to have served twice on the board here and to be in a lot of committees and also be a helper to the minister as what do you call them? A worship associate. I have trouble with words, I'm sorry. Okay. It's my honor also to be co-leading the service today with our minister. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Reverend McKinley. And a big, big thank you to our minister again, because he's providing the music today. And to Alberto Aldeman for running our AV Tech. Because some people are gone today, some of our staff, and they're having a good time, and we should thank us to have people who can have a good time. Thank you. So there's a few small announcements before we begin. Please silence your cell phones so that we may all be as present as possible in this space. The restrooms are located at the rear of the sanctuary, down the stairs to the right, or to the mechanical lift on the left. An usher can help you navigate either option. We are streaming live, and if you are joining us online, you can choose to toggle on the closed captions by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. This is a Unitarian Universalist congregation, which means that we are people of many differences from different faith traditions, different racial identities, different gender expressions, and of all different ways of moving in and showing up in the world. And we are people of togetherness who make covenant promises to be together and to act with love for transformation, liberation, and healing. May our gratitude for this time together and our intentions to build beloved community help us embrace one another and nurture wholeness in ourselves and in our world this morning. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning, friends. Let's start with a nice, easy breath together. Settle yourselves into your pews. If you're joining us from home, roll your shoulders out a little bit. Find yourself here in this space. Let's breathe together this morning. In and out. Let's do one more since that felt so good. Let's do one more. In and out. Thank you, friends. Those who breathe together are together. Here in this space, we light a chalice to celebrate our coming together in love, to mark the sacredness of being together, and to invite Spirit into our lives. If you're joining us from home, we invite you to light a candle wherever you are as we light our chalice here in the sanctuary. I'm going to read the words from Reverend Bridget Bechtold, and I'm going to ask Miss Elizabeth Ann to light our chalice, please. You have a part to play in this. The words are in your order of service and are here on the screen behind me. So I'm going to read the first part, and when I get to that last line, conceptualize, I invite you to read the all parts together. Hear these words. We light our chalice imagining what lies in the liminal space between the flame and its circle, what dwells in the interstitial space between the cracks in our lives, pavements, and the threads of our day's fabrics. What meanings are hidden between the words that we know and those we have yet to conceptualize? What compassion flutters between me and you and all of us, between the known and the mystery, and we color it all with love. All right, we're going to get a little tricky here. Our opening hymn is Come Light of Lights. This is one that we have sung before here in the sanctuary, and we've sung it before in a few different small groups that we have. This is a Shruti box. It makes a very fun sound. So this is an old kind of chant that has roots in the Christian tradition, but we're going to sing it here, and the words are really simple. Just come, light of lights, into my heart. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. We're going to play along with the Shruti box to give us a tuning here. And the rhythm and the melody are very simple, so I'll try and sing it through once. I'm not a great singer, but I think we can get there together. And then I'll invite all of us to sing it together. So it goes like this. Come, light of lights, into my heart. Can we try that together? Come, light of lights, into my heart. Oh, that sounds great. And the second line sounds like this. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. Let's try that. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. That's it, just those two lines back together. Let's try it all together here. Come, light of lights, into my heart. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. Come, light of lights, into my heart. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. Two more times. Come, light of lights, into my heart. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. One more time. Come, light of lights, into my heart. Come, wisdom of spirit, into my heart. Thank you, friends. That's fun. Thank you. Today's service is about short phrases and words. It's about using poetry to make meaning in our lives and how poetry can be both an act of resistance and resilience in these times. It's lifting up the words of poetry and the act of making poetry, this creativity, this creative force, as a way to express our spirituality, as a way to talk about God, to talk about spirit, to talk about what is most meaningful to us. So we're actually going to make some poetry today. So we're inviting the wisdom of spirit and the light of lights into this space, into our hearts, that we might create something of beauty. If any of you have ever written poetry, you know that sometimes when you create something, it may not sound as beautiful as you'd like it to be, but that's okay, because we're not asking for perfection here. We're inviting a little bit of newness and creativity into our lives. So if you've never been a poetry person, maybe you'll hear something new today. And if you have been a poetry person, maybe you'll hear something new as well. We welcome all of our gifts and talents for those who are wordsmiths and those who are not here today. Before we do that, and before we tell our story, we're going to move deeper into the spirit of community and building beloved community here in this space through the ritual of joy and sorrows. If this is your first time here with us, we invite you to participate in this ritual however you feel called. There is a basket of stones at the rear of the sanctuary and here at the front. And if you feel moved, we invite you to come up by this side aisle, grab a stone from any of those baskets, and take a second to check in with yourself and ask, what am I feeling today? What good news do I want to share? What heartbreaks am I harboring? Let that stone become infused with those joys, sorrows, prayers, wishes, needs, and drop it into the bowl of water that symbolizes this community. As we move into the ritual, you'll notice how the stones settle next to each other and the ripples continue to move in and around the bowl, because that's what we do. We practice what it is to be human here, and we help one another through all of what it is to be human, holding our joys and sorrows, celebrating our victories, and mourning our losses. If you have something especially pressing or moving that you would like to share, we invite you to use this microphone and speak directly into it. Tell us your name and what you're feeling today, who is on your heart. Please be mindful that we are streaming to the internet, so it's not just us here in the sanctuary. And friends who are online, if you would like to use the Zoom chat function, we can see it here in the sanctuary. Please let us know if you would like it to be shared out loud. We'll listen to some music, maybe from the guitar for this one. And we invite you to share as much or as little as you wish. And if you would just like to sit in the pews and hear some music and then say a small prayer afterwards, that's fine too. Invite you to participate however you are feeling called. So come, whoever you are, the table of joys and sorrows is open.
Hi, I'm Jane. Can you hear me? I have 3 joys today. I'd like to start it off with joys. Today, my 2 cousins and Joe's 2 cousins are here to visit and go to church and see my new life, and it's such a blessing to have them here. Also, 51 years ago, my husband and I had a beautiful reconfirmation ceremony of marriage at the First Unitarian Church of Concord. So it just happened to be the 25th of May, and here we are, the 25th of May. And most of all, Mary Ann and I went to visit Holly, Job, and Annabelle at Folkways, and we just had a wonderful time talking and eating and just sharing ideas. But the big thing was that we went over to see a good friend of mine, Kathy Baxter. She had just broken her leg and was in the infirmary part of where she lived, and but she was awake when we came, and we had such a sharing moment, and I made her laugh, and we held hands, and at the end I said, you know, when I get to church on Sunday, I'm going to say, I got to see Kathy Baxter. And she goes like this with her 95-year-old arms. So it was just a wonderful visit, and I made her smile and laugh, and that does my heart so much good.
Hello. Oh, a little short. My name's Lila. I have 2 exciting joys to share today. So one, I've talked to some people here about this. I got a job offer for a job I've been hoping for a few years, so I'm very excited. And then secondly, today is Alvaro's birthday, so we have a cake downstairs.
Good morning, I'm Kathy. I have a couple of joys. One is our son Elijah finally had surgery for an injury that he had over a year ago. So he's finally on a path to recovery. He's been out of work all this time, too. Also, he let me meet his new girlfriend, who has a beautiful dog. Look at 2 for 1. And yesterday, the Aging People in Prison Human Rights Campaign, who works on our second floor in Hale, sponsored a Justice Summit to bring together different grassroots organizations to meet each other and to kind of map out their activities and begin to strategize together. And Tamako, the head of this group, said that she had been inspired by our Justice Council's Justice Retreat in January. So there's kind of a synergy building, and it was really wonderful to really meet and hear wonderful things that are going on behind the headlines.
Hi, it's Louise, and I'm asking very humbly for people to send out very peaceful thoughts to my prior husband, Paul. He's at the Charlotte Hall VA Center in Maryland. He's declining with his depression and his alcoholism, and he's really at a point that it feels like a living nightmare of being distrusting, of being very angry, and of being afraid. So I would just like thoughts, not of healing necessarily, but of peace to go out to him. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Barbara. I have an announcement. Mary Ellen Norick and I are hosting a fundraiser, F-U-N, for the food pantry. It's a dance, you know. Let's come out and dance and have some fun. On this coming Saturday, May 31st, from downstairs from 3 to 5 p.m. And it's a donation, but no one will be turned away for lack of funds. And hope you can. I know it's the same day as the 50th anniversary of Anna Cruz's concert, but there's an evening concert too. But if you know, and there's going to be another dance and a bigger one in September. Yeah, so we're going to keep working to put food in the pantry, and the garden is just bursting. And Janet picked some collards yesterday, and they were scooped up right away. You know, so yes, and more to come. Yeah, if you get a chance, take a look. Take a peek. It's wonderful. Thanks to all the volunteers who worked on it.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Ann, and I put 3 stones in the water today. One is for my cousin Joyce, who passed into being an ancestor last week, and another is for my sister-in-law Muffy, who's in hospice, and a third one because I'm going to see Beyonce tonight. Woo!
Well, you know who I am. So I have to, whoops. Okay. I just want to thank the voters who voted in Larry Krasner again.
Thank you. Sandy, can you drop one final stone in for us, please, for all of our joys and sorrows not spoken out loud, but held in the quiet of our hearts? Thank you. Hear these words from Amanda Gorman, a poem or a prayer called Memorial. When we tell a story, we are living memory. In ancient Greece, the muses, the dainty-footed daughters of memory, were thought to inspire artists. It isn't knowing, but remembering that makes us create. It isn't knowing, but remembering that makes us create. This would explain why so much great art arises from trauma, nostalgia, or testimony. But why alliteration? Why the pulsing percussion, the string of syllables? It is the poet who pounds the past back into you. The poet transcends telling or performing a story and instead remembers it, touches, tastes, traps its vastness. Only now can memory previously marooned find safe harbor within us. Feel all the tales crushing our famished mouth. Let's take a moment to meditate on these words. And then we'll move to our story for all ages. Thank you, friends. Invite our children of all ages who are feeling brave and want to come up here with one of your adults or by yourself to come up and gather around. We're going to make a little poetry this morning, and I need some help. Come on up. If you're not feeling brave enough to come up and you want to be brave and stay in your seats, that's fine too, but I still need help. Hi, I'm Malachi. You can have a seat if you want. Rebecca, you want to come sit right here? Okay, friends, we're talking about poetry today. Does anybody know what poetry is? It's when you use words that you either write down or you say out loud to make something that sounds beautiful or looks beautiful. So sometimes when we sing songs, we sang that song earlier, "Come light of lights into my heart." That's a kind of poetry, right? The songs that we sing, sometimes their words rhyme. The words sound the same when you say them out loud. That's how you make poetry. There are lots of ways to make a poem. And we're going to make some poetry today. And I need your help, okay? So I need all the words that are in your brain. I'm going to need us to look through all those words and come up with some good ones. We're going to fill in the blanks of this very, very profound poem, okay? So here's what I need. Here's what it sounds like right now. For those of us who can read these English words, it sounds like this. Roses are red, violets are blue. Is very and are two. Blue and two sound alike when you say them out loud. It's called a rhyme. But we need to fill in the blanks. We have 3 blanks to fill in, and I need your help here. So it says, roses are red, violets are blue. Blank is very blank. So what I need from us is I need a person, place, or a thing. I need someone's name. I need a kind of animal. I need a thing to fill in this blank. What's a good word that we could put in there? What's a thing? Could be a person, a place, an object. Could be a favorite toy, a favorite animal. What do you got? Rebecca, I see you thinking. What'd you say? You don't know? Does anyone have a favorite animal? A cat, all right. Can we do cat? Let's try cats. How about we'll say my cat, right? I'm thinking about my cat. My cat is very blank. William, you got one? Aggressive. What a great word. Aggressive. Does everyone know what aggressive means? Aggressive means aggressive means if my cat really wants a snack, she'll come right up to me and kind of paw at me to get it. That's what aggressive can mean. He's not afraid to use your claws. Okay, roses are red, violets are blue. My cat is very aggressive and blank are two. Okay, so now we need another word, another person, place, or thing to fill in this blank. Could be another animal, could be something silly. How about a favorite food? Okay, what's your favorite food? Spaghetti. I don't know how you spell spaghetti. All right, here we go. Roses are red, violets are blue. My cat is very aggressive, and spaghettis are too. Okay, can we do one more, do you think, now that we've got it behind us? Okay, let's pick some new words. All right. Roses are red, violets are blue. Give me a person, place, or thing. William, I see you percolating over there. What are you thinking? What's a good person, place, or thing? Maybe a dog? I was going to say a character from a video game, maybe? Is there a character from a video game you've been playing recently? I was going to think like a wizard, maybe? No? Okay. All right. We want to go dogs? My dog. Okay, my dog is very blank. Give me a describing word. What was the word, William? What you got? Lazy. Very restful. Rebecca. And kind. Lazy and kind. And, all right, Malachi, let's finish this one off. Roses are red, violets are blue. My dog is very lazy and kind. And blank are two. Give me a person, place, or thing. Bowser. Okay, we'll make it singular. If you're not, for someone who doesn't know who Bowser is, Malachi, who's Bowser? He's the big turtle king from Mario, right? Yeah, from Super Mario. Okay, roses are red, violets are blue. My dog is very lazy and kind, and Bowser is too. Yay! So when we use our words, we can make something silly, we can make something beautiful, we can make something in between. That's the very cool thing about making poetry. And making poetry is a great way to make other people feel better. It's a great way to make ourselves feel better when we're feeling kind of sad or kind of scared. It's a great way to inspire people. And it's also a great way to make music in the world. So for those of us who like music, we often turn to poetry. Thank you for helping me make some poetry today, for helping us make some poetry. I'm going to send you off with Elizabeth Ann and with Miss Jill. You're going to go downstairs for our religious exploration, where we're going to explore more about imagination, all right? Thank you, friends. We are going to sing a song to sing you out for your classes. Friends who are here in the sanctuary, please sing along. As you leave this space, know that you belong. Know that you are not alone. Know that you are loved. As you leave this space, know that you belong. Know that you are not alone. Know that you are loved. Spoiler alert, that's going to be our offertory. We're going to take a moment to offer our gifts and resources here for the betterment of this congregation. If this is your first time with us, there's no expectation that you put anything to the plate that is being passed around here in the sanctuary. The offering goes to two different places here at UU Mount Airy. Anything you put into the plate that is paper money goes towards the operating fund of this congregation. Any pocket change that you put in and anything you put into the white envelopes that are in your pews that you can mark change for change goes towards a different social justice organization each month. This month, it is the Asian American Community Fund of Pennsylvania, which supports local Asian American associations and organizations to do the work that none of us could do alone. So anything you put into the white envelopes and any pocket change goes towards that group. Anything else you put in the plate goes towards the operating fund of this congregation. Friends who are online, there are instructions online that I will try to get on the screen for you. But if you go to our website, uumountaire.org, you can also see more information about how to give online. Friends, there are lots of ways to give back. The Give You the Monies is just one of them, but we take time for that now. Our offering will be gratefully accepted. We're going to turn it over to Sandy Fulton to share some poetry with us this morning.
I belong to a group called the Philly Poetic Resistance, and I love the word resistance. It's a great word. And it isn't really Philly anymore, it's actually international. We have people in Ireland, we have people in the Philippines, and it's pretty good. I love it. It's a great group. And one of our poets wrote this poem that I want to read. The Strongest Rope is the name of the poem, and Heather Hackett, and that's spelled Hackett, is the poet. She's a very attractive young woman who can really write poetry. This was printed in the Christian Century, which has some really marvelous poems in it. I saw it last year, and I would like to read it to you. I think that you should know beforehand that when I read it to the people, when I was doing readings at our gathering, the Thursday night gathering, that everybody applauded. You don't have to applaud, but this is something that I hope that you carry with you. It's a beautiful poem. The Strongest Rope by Heather Hackett. I'm not afraid anymore. It seems silly that I was before, but I don't judge my past selves. What they did was always intended well. Now that I know better, I move differently. This is the key to growth, to living, to be ready to evolve. Don't get stuck where you are. Just because you were there doesn't mean you have to stay. It's good to move on and change. The world around us does so every day. So why should we stay the same? Get out of your own way. Accept the grief. Move through the pain. You deserve the sunniest of days. and until you're ready, the light will wait. The voyage is one we must appreciate. No step is ever taken in vain. We need every part of the journey to truly transform. We mustn't hurry. It may be tough, but try not to worry. Remember, this too belongs. Write a poem or sing a song. Share your story with everyone. When we connect with others, it makes us strong. None of us are in this alone. Collectively, our trajectory is what guides the world. We weave together the strongest rope, pulling everything around us toward love and hope.
Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, you did applause. I'll applaud with you.
Thank you, Sandy. All right, my friends, if you got to see the newsletter this week, or you knew what the service was about, you may have heard the words or read the words interactive. It's not just the kids who are going to help make poetry today. If you're newer here, you may not know that I used to be a middle school teacher, and that's where this comes from. So we are poetic people. Even those of us who feel like we're poets, that we're not good at writing poetry, we recognize poetry, right? We all recognize roses are red, violets are blue, I hope. And I have found that for someone who does not feel like a poet, that just the act of creating words can sometimes be a struggle. But then when I do it, I feel a sense not just of accomplishment, but almost like rocket fuel inspiration. Like, ooh, I could do things. Yeah. And I feel like finding the right words is sometimes really hard to do, especially when you look around and you see all of the terrible words that are on the news, in our social media feeds, right? We are constantly bombarded with negative words, with negative messages. And so the idea that we might create something of beauty, of meaning, of silliness, right, can in itself be an act of both resistance and resilience. So if you're feeling a little nervous about participating, I get you. That's why we're doing something that is both a team-building exercise, is very creative, but is also very individual, right? And so no one is going to know how much you participate in this ritual, we'll call it. This is a poetry exercise that we call in middle school the exquisite corpse. If you've ever done this, it is a process of making a poem together, line by line. And each person is only responsible for one line. That's all you got to do. Think of one thing to write down. Could be roses are red, violets are blue, right? And we're going to create this poem together based on a prompt. So the invitation is for everyone here in the sanctuary. Friends online, I'm very sorry. I could not figure out how to make this more interactive with just me here. But if you want to put something into the Zoom chat to create some poetry for yourself, please do so, and I will try to include it in some way. But I got too many balls in the air right now. But friends who are here in person, I have pens and I have these 2 clipboards. And here's how this works. There's a prompt on each one, right? One prompt here, the first line that I started for you. You're welcome. You don't have to figure out how to start it. Whenever I'm frightened, I tell this story. That's the first line. If the clipboard comes to you, your task is to simply write the next line. Doesn't have to rhyme with the word story. Doesn't have to be profound. Doesn't have to feel poetic. Write whatever comes to you, right? Whenever I'm frightened, I tell this story. So you would write here on this next line, this is lined paper, so hopefully that makes it easier. Then when you're done, you're going to fold the paper over your line, right? Or actually over the first line, so that the person behind you can only see the line of poetry that you just wrote, right? They can't see the rest of it, right? So I'm gonna actually write another line and then fold it over so we get started here. But that's all you do. You write one line of poetry, and then you fold the piece of paper over so it covers everything before what you just wrote, right? So that the person behind you, we can't see the whole picture. We only see the thing that came right before. And we create this poem line by line. I can't promise it's going to be Shakespeare. It's probably going to be very silly, and that'll be okay. But occasionally when you do this, if you've ever done this with middle schoolers, you actually get something very profound every once in a while, right? Just the synthesis of people's minds coming together and creating something is very, very powerful. Okay. Are there questions, comments, or concerns? If you want to run for the hills, I understand. The bathroom is at the rear and down the stairs. Coffee is downstairs. I totally get it. There are two clipboards here, and they have different prompts, right? One says, whenever I'm frightened, I tell this story. The other starts out, when we tell a story, we are living memory. Doesn't have to mean anything to you, but it might help. Whenever I'm frightened, I tell this story. When we tell a story, we are living memory. Okay? Sandy, do you want to start? Beautiful. I'm buzzing here. All right. I'm going to give this pen to Sandy to write on and then pass back, please. Hello. Sorry about that. And then on this one, goodness gracious. Sorry about that. On this side. Sharon, can I ask you to start? I'm putting you on the spot, I recognize. When we tell a story, we are living memory. Okay, so we have pens to pass back. This is going to take a few minutes, and that's okay, because I'm going to talk to us while we're doing it. Right? And tell you about the power of words. When I was a middle school teacher, I had the honor and privilege of teaching in New Haven, Connecticut. And I had a student who was going through a rough time in his life. He was having a really hard time connecting with anyone else. I came in as a young white male teacher into a predominantly black and Hispanic school in New Haven, Connecticut, desperate to make connections. I was a little bit lucky because I was also the basketball coach, so that was an instant way to make connections. But with this young man, he was just having a really hard time. And so one of the first things I did when we were having a study hall period, when the kids are supposed to be silently working, and if you've ever taught middle school, you know that that is a rarity. But most of the kids were working, and this young man was just kind of sitting there zoning out, daydreaming. And so I walked up to him, and I was like, hey, do you have anything to do? He said, no. Which I knew was a lie, but it's like, okay. And he had a piece of paper out, and it was just blank. And he'd been staring at a blank piece of paper for 15 minutes or so. And his assignment was to make a poem. And he didn't know where to start. He said, I'm not good at school. I don't like words. I don't like writing. So he was just staring at this blank piece of paper. And I said, well, give me a person, place, or thing. And he said, car. I said, okay, tell me more about this car. And he said, Chevy Impala. I said, wow. I said, do you like cars? He said, yeah, I like cars. I said, oh, have you ever been in a Chevy Impala? He said, yeah, my uncle has one. I said, oh, that's amazing. Well, what color is it? And as he's telling me these things, I'm just writing them down on the side of the paper. Just the words, the colors, the shapes, all that stuff. And I said, all right, you wrote your poem. He said, what? I said, yeah, you wrote your poem. He said, no, I didn't. I said, read these words out loud. And it was the Chevy, Impala, 67, Pearl. And it was just random words. I said, you did it. You put words on the page. He said, well, that's not good. I said, oh, okay, well then let's make it better. And so we took these words, and then we started this exercise of, say, okay, I'm going to write first. And I wrote something about, my uncle's car, right? And then I wrote another line about my granddad's truck. If you've been here for a while, you might have heard stories about my granddad's truck. And then he wrote some lines. Then I wrote some lines, and then he wrote some lines. And we created this silly poem that had to have a certain number of poetic contraptions in it. But I could feel this connection starting based on this very simple exercise. This young man and I got really, really close because he lived 2 towns over from the school. So he was not eligible for the bus. So he was taking the city bus of one town to the next town and then transferring to the other city bus to come into New Haven and then walking from the bus depot to get to our school. So it was 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think, from his house to our school. And school started at 6:45 or something. So he'd get there every day and he would just be so sleepy. It was unsustainable. And it was a situation I'm sure you can imagine, right? A single family, single parent household, all these things. Through this process that started with words on a page, it became tutoring sessions, it became coaching sessions, it became me picking him up and dropping him off at school. It became a fabulous, not only mentoring relationship, but kind of a familial relationship. And it started with poetry. And if you'd have asked me, when I was a young teacher coming into this school, how are you going to make connections with the kids? I'd have said, well, I know a lot about hip-hop music. I know a lot about sports. And I think I'm pretty funny. And I like to have a good time and joke around. I never would have thought something that I did not connect with when I was in school would be the key to unlock this door. I tell you this story not to lift up that I was an amazing teacher. I was a pretty mediocre teacher, to be quite honest with you. But I was really good at connecting with kids, especially those that were having trouble connecting with anyone else. And it wasn't because I always knew the right words to say. And it wasn't because I knew the right words to write on a paper for this 8th grade assignment. Right? It's because, I think, I was willing and able to show up and be open and vulnerable and just try something. Right? That the courage that I think we all can find in times like these, quote unquote, unprecedented times, the courage that we can all find and have, the most important courage in this space, in these times, is the courage to show up and be open and vulnerable and to connect with people, especially people that might be different from us, but sometimes that can be unsafe, right? But I'm especially thinking about here in this congregation, the courage to show up and try to connect with people, even when it's imperfect, even when it doesn't work, right? Even when you don't know the words to say to someone, it can be really life-changing. And that courage to show up and try something imperfect is in itself a kind of poetry. If you've ever heard me talk about what it means to be a minister of presence, one of the things that we learn in seminary is how to do pastoral care, how to come to people when they're sad, when they're feeling alone, when they're hurt, when they're in the hospital. And there's lots of ways to do it, right? There's lots of theories on how to do it. My pastoral care instruction and my great supervisor, Reverend Chaplain Dr. Robert A. Renix, used to talk about the words of your body and the words of your presence are the poetry of the divine to this person. The words of your body and the words of your presence are the poetry of the divine to this person. That it's literally not about what comes out of your mouth. Because if you've ever been in hard situations and someone has come to you looking to help, sometimes the things that come out of their mouth are actually not helpful at all, right? They actually make it worse. But the things that come out of our mouths are sometimes less important than the words that come from our bodies, from our presence, from our spirit, from our aura, some people say, from our vibes. And that's what I want to lift up today on this Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend, on a time when we think about victims of military oppression, those who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces and those who have been victims of those armed forces. We think about those who have gone on before us, and that these memories, as Amanda Gorman says, these memories tell us a story. And it's not just about telling the story, it's about remembering the story. And it's not just remembering with our minds, it's also embodying these stories. She talks about tasting, touching these memories and these stories. Heather Hackett's poem talks about coming together, building the strongest rope, not just with our words, but with our whole selves. For Memorial Day, for me, I try to be more mindful, not just of those who have died while serving in the armed forces in our nation's history, but for all those who have been victims of any kind of systemic oppression from this land, right? When we think about who ought to be memorialized and whose memory teaches us something going forward, I'm working to be more mindful of the other pieces of that story, the other poems that are not often told, and the poems that may not have words to be shared, but the poems that are shared by our bodies, by our lived experience. And when I try to show up and connect with someone, I want to know that story too. So when I sat next to this young man in New Haven, Connecticut, his body was telling me a story. His presence was telling me a story, not with words, right? He was creating this poem that was one of confusion, despair, tiredness, apathy, hopelessness. And it was the hopelessness that I thought we could fix. I couldn't fix everything. I wasn't meant to fix everything. But what I find is when we gather together in community, in spaces like this, and we do rituals, like joys and sorrows, like singing together, like creating silly poems, we're telling a story. We're making poetry with our bodies that can both inspire and lead someone towards hope, as Heather Hackett says. So what I'm inviting us to do on this Memorial Day is to think not just about veterans and those killed in our service, but to think about all of the sacrifices that have been made, not just for us and not just by us, but those sacrifices made because of us here in America. And to expand our consciousness about Memorial Day with the intention of trying to lead back to hope. So stay with me here. I'm trying to tie this with a bow. To expand our thinking about Memorial Day, not just about the armed forces, but to anywhere there has been victims of systemic oppression of what we call empire, right? The American empire. And to think about the stories that those people might tell, could tell. Not just with words, but with their bodies. And what can we hear from that story? What can we remember from that story, from that poetry of their lives, that helps lead us back to hope and helps lead others to hope? Because, this is my theory, if we do this work here in this little congregation, if we kind of fill our hearts, expand our hearts, think about all the people outside and bring those stories into our own lives, right? Bring their poetry into our poetry. Take their lines of poetry and add ours to it. And create this new thing that leads us back to hope. The next time something bad happens, the next time we feel frightened, we have not just our own well of words hiding around up here to draw on, right? We have inspiration and stories from other kinds of people from different times, different places, different understandings, different expressions. I'll give you one example, because I think we're just about done here. Are we done at the back? Everyone's written. Are we done at the back over here? We're getting close. Okay. I'll give you one example of this. Thank you. Oh, in these unprecedented times, we look for words from people who have lived in situations like this. And we hear these stories, right? So we can look to stories from resistance to the Nazi regime, right? From resistance to genocide in African countries. We can look to the civil rights movement here in America. And oftentimes what I find is when I read these stories that I didn't know about, I feel an instant sense of connection to these people. I say, oh, if they can do that, then maybe I could do that too. I'm emboldened by those words, by the poetry of their lives. And I'm led back to hope. That whenever I'm feeling frightened, whenever I'm feeling scared, whenever I'm feeling hopeless, I draw on these words, this poetry, not just like Heather Hackett's poem, but the poetry of people's lives, their lived experience, of ministers who have gone before me, of people who have gone before me, of my family members who have gone before me. And that memorializing does me a lot more good, I think, than just thinking about Memorial Day in this very narrow sense, right? Which is still important. And what leads us back to hope is my question. I'm hopeful that one of these poems will do that. And at the very least, I'm hopeful that this ritual, while it may seem silly, sparks a memorializing for us to think about how we are connected not just by the words of our minds, but by the words of our bodies. And if not, there's another Sunday coming around. We'll try again next week. All right, how are we doing back there? Just about done? Okay. Thank you, friends. So we're going to read our poetry together. I'm going to read it out to us. We're going to extinguish our chalice, and then we are going to end our service here today. We good, Brenda? Thank you. Fabulous. Beautiful. All right. Quick show of hands. Anybody ever done this exercise before, either as a teacher or a student? A handful of folks. Great. Okay. This is our brand new poem. It's going to lead us back to hope and solve all of our problems. Okay. Whenever I'm frightened, I tell this story. But look up, the sky is blue. I can be like the sky too. My ancestors faced many difficulties and made it through. They did this so that I wouldn't have to. and I persist so no one else has to either. My courage encouraged all those around me, and my courage helps to ground me. The courage to say, everything is going to be all right. I breathe in and out. As I went to cut my irises, I saw the bee enjoying them and stopped. And I wondered, how does this bee know he has gathered enough pollen? Call the plumber. Being present in a moment is joy. Joy in penguins. Here come the joy in penguins, maybe. I'm not sure about that last line. Joy in penguins. Here they come. Joy in penguins. Here they come. Amen. Thank you, friends. Beautiful. Yeah, give yourselves a hand. Beth, are you the last one or have you gone? Linda's the last one? All right. Beautiful. Yes. So while we're here, I'll make two quick little announcements. One, next Sunday, June 1st, is our flower communion. This is the annual end-of-year ritual that lots of UU congregations celebrate. People do it at different times. We often do it on the first Sunday in June. So we are going to have a table here with flowers already brought. But the ritual of flower communion is that you are invited to bring a flower or a few flowers from your home, from your garden, from the side of the road, from the flower store if you want to buy some. Thank you, Beth. And bring them here. We will have flowers available for folks who cannot bring one in for whatever reason. But if you want to bring your own, we really encourage that. It helps make the ritual more complete. So if you want to bring a flower next week for flower communion, please do so. Secondly, after the flower communion, we're going to have lunch on the lawn outside to celebrate the end of our year. There might be ice cream. And there's also going to be a small soil ceremony over at the garden. So if along with the flower, if you want to bring a very small container of soil from your garden, from your house, from the side of the road, please do so. And we're going to create a little ritual for our garden over there. Okay? All right, friends, here we go. Our next poem that's going to solve everything and bring us back to hope. When we tell a story, we are living memory. Memories that pour from clouds to rivers, then seas. Turning the rest of the world about all the lives telling the rest of the world about all the lives they've lived. And all the cats are singing the meow, or all the cats are singing the moon to come down. Lives lived in beds and chairs, in gardens and on roofs, like daffodils and tulips blooming in their time, giving way to irises. Reciting the powerful poem of hope, the strongest rope from now on. So I took a deep breath and breathed out hope. I took another breath, anchoring my resolve to act. Sometimes just breathing is a form of resilience, and a dark cloud can give way to a rainbow. A rainbow, rain and sun, pain and fun can free us. And as depression and addiction in my family has made me grateful for community and health. Amen. All right, friends, I think we're going to do this instead. We're going to extinguish our chalice with words from Gene Roddenberry. I'm going to invite you to read them out loud. I'll extinguish the chalice here. They're also written on your order of service. Beautiful. I got it, Sandy. It's all right. Would you read these words aloud? It isn't all over. Everything has not been invented. The human adventure is just beginning. May it be so. Rather than go through this whole song and dance about reteaching you the song, I'm So Grateful, I think we're just going to chant the phrase, I'm so grateful. This is a song from Shanda Rule. We've done it before, but we're running a little short on time. We're just going to do this. I am so grateful for all of you being here, for engaging in this silly exercise. I hope you found something meaningful in it, and I hope that it leads us back to hope. So I also find that practicing gratitude for these small things is another thing to do when I'm feeling scared or frightened. that counting my blessings, as we tell our kids, and practicing gratitude is a way that leads me back to hope. Right? So this is a song from Shanda Rule, and the chorus line is just a line. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. Can we try that? I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. We're 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 so grateful. Oh, you guys could be my choir anytime. Thank you so much. Friends, it has come time to end our service today. So this is my offering and my benediction to hear the good news. That it does not matter if you don't always feel like you have the words, right? That we create poetry with our bodies, and we create better poetry and music and songs together. We create the strongest rope to lead us back to hope. It's what we try and do here every Sunday. It's what we'll try and do here next week and the week after that. So I hope that you find the poetry that leads you back to hope this week, wherever it may be. Amen? Amen, friends. Thank you for being here. We will see you next week. Yes? Is anyone who's in charge of...
It's a potluck. So, announcement went out yesterday in your email, and so if you could bring sandwiches, drinks, or salads to share.
It is a potluck next week. An announcement went out in your email to bring sandwiches, drinks, or salads. Yes, for next week. Beautiful. Thank you, friends.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain.
For purple mountains, majesties above thy fruited plain. America, America, God shed much grace on thee. So spread the love sent from above, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful, thy immigrants who hail from every land.
Their hope and heart and diligence, like gifts from God's own hand.
America, America,
Thy grace
shall yet remain
to
greet the poor who reach this shore with open arms again.
Oh, beautiful, oh, motherhood, all nestle at your breast.
Just as we sing with love and pride, so built cities till thy soul. Proud Africans in bloody chains. The wealth built from their toil. Yes, Lord. America, America, God shed much grace on thee. Yes. So spread the love sent from above, from sea to shining sea. Bring sisterhood, bring brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, yeah.
Friends online, I'm so sorry. I don't know what is going on with my microphone. It's so bizarre.